You are listening to a Blaze Bible Reflection read by Ola. Today's passage is Matthew 27, 1 to 26. See to it yourself, Judas and the impulse of suicide. Matthew interrupts the trial of Jesus before Pilate to tell the story of Judas. This pause is deliberate. Matthew wants us to see not only the injustice done to Jesus, but also the inner collapse of one of his disciples. He offers no explicit judgment on Judas. He does not condemn Judas for his action, nor does he praise it either. He does not tell us what finally happened to Judas or where he ended up. Instead, he lets the story speak for itself and allows it to warn us. What he shows us is how despair grows and how the impulse towards suicide can take hold of the human heart. Matthew tells us that Judas acts only after he sees that Jesus has been condemned. This detail matters. Judas is not overwhelmed simply by what he did, but by what his action has caused. When he realizes the outcome, everything falls apart. He returns the money and says clearly, "I have sinned by betraying innocent blood." Judas is not confused. He knows he has done wrong. He knows Jesus is innocent. Matthew presents him as morally awake and painfully aware. At the same time, Matthew is careful with his language. Judas is said to feel remorse, but not repentance. Remorse involves sorrow over wrongdoing, but it does not yet involve a turning toward God. Judas's guilt remains inward and closed. His thinking follows a strict logic. Innocent blood has been shed, therefore the sin must be paid for. There must be an accounting. In this framework, forgiveness does not appear as a real possibility. This mindset fits what we already know about Judas. Earlier in the gospel, he goes to the chief priest and asks, "What will you give me if I hand him over to you?" He is also known as the one who handled the common purse, the shared money meant for the poor. These details show that Judas often thinks in terms of exchange and balance, give and take, cost and outcome. When guilt overwhelms him, the same way of thinking turns against himself. Sin becomes a debt. His own life begins to feel like the only payment that will satisfy his conscience. One of the most striking features of Matthew's account is that Judas does not remain silent or keep his troubled conscience to himself. He does not hide his guilt. He speaks out, but to the wrong people. He goes back to the chief priests and elders, returns the money, and speaks his confession aloud. Matthew shows that Judas is seeking relief from his burden. His tragedy is not that he refuses to speak, but that he seeks help from those who cannot offer it. Their response is sharp and cruel. What is that to us? See to it yourself. These words place the entire burden back on Judas and cuts off from home. The lack of accompaniment and shared responsibility leave him alone with his guilt. Shame and guilt stops him from turning to Peter or James or John for help, and the indifference of his accomplice give him no hope to live. These words cut Judas off completely. They leave him alone with his guilt. They offer no mercy, no guidance, no shared responsibility. His scrupulous conscience is worsened and prick even more. After this rejection, Judas is left alone with an accusing conscience. Matthew describes his final act without explanation or commentary. Judas goes away and hangs himself. The gospel does not present this as divine punishment or as an act of courage. It is shown as the tragic end of a closed moral world where guilt has no path to forgiveness, where despair drains faith, and where darkness overtakes the mind and destroys a life. The wider narrative invites comparison with Peter. Peter also fails Jesus, and in a serious way, by denying him. Yet, Peter remains within the community. He weeps, repents, and lives. His story continues. Judas' story ends in isolation. The difference is not the seriousness of the sin, but the presence or absence of hope and relationship. Peter trusts that mercy is still possible. Judas does not. Matthew tells this story as a warning. When hope disappears, when people cannot forgive themselves, when conscience becomes harsh and unforgiving, and when there is no one to walk with them, despair can overwhelm the human heart. Suicide appears here not as a solution, but as the final outcome of lost darkness and total loss of hope. The one who hopes is saved, and hope never deceives or fails. Romans 5 verse 5, Romans 8 verses 24 to 25. In the movie, The Passion of Christ, Mel Gibson imagines what may be happening inside Judas's mind in his final hours, and the result is frightening and disturbing. Judas is surrounded by mocking voices, shouting, stones, and whispers that shame him and twist the truth. The devil is not loud, but quietly present, feeding guilt and lies. Judas is shown a dead, rotten animal, as if he is being told that this is what he has become, worthless and beyond saving. The scene captures his inner chaos, crushing shame, deep anguish, and unbearable pain. He can no longer think clearly or see mercy. Life loses meaning, and death begins to seem like escape. This portrayal helps us understand what many people experience at the edge of suicide. Not clear choice, but overwhelming guilt, fear, and loss of hope. It reminds us to stay close to those who are struggling, to pray for them, and to carry hope for those who can no longer carry it themselves. The words, "See to it yourself," stand in stark contrast to the message of the gospel as a whole. They are not the voice of God. Matthew allows them to echo so that we may recognize their danger and see them as coming from the accuser. Against this voice of accusation, the passion narrative moves towards another truth. Innocent blood will not demand repayment from the sinner, but will become the means of forgiveness. When God forgives, God does not keep accounts. No sin is greater than the mercy and love of God. One must firmly reject the temptation to surrender to despair, refuse the lies of negative voices, and choose life, truth, and hope with unwavering resolve. God bless you. Stay close to the Word. The Ablaze team.